Right now with a developing story on Cape Cod, there has been an arrest in the 2002 murder of fashion writer Christa Worthington. Prosecutors are expected to hold a news conference with the details in just about a half an hour or so from now. Steve Cooper is a reporter with WHDH, that's our NBC affiliate in Boston, and he joins me now live from Cape Cod. Good afternoon to you, Steve. What's the latest from there?
Alex, the latest information at this hour is that the suspect, who is from Hyannis, Massachusetts, 33-year-old Christopher McCowen, is actually awaiting an arraignment today on several charges, including murder, armed burglary, and aggravated rape. Now, he was picked up last night in Hyannis at a rooming house, and we're told by investigators that he was actually a trash collector for several months for the victim in this particular case, Christa Worthington, before this murder actually happened. She was found stabbed to death in her secluded rural home here on the Cape just about 3.5 years ago. And when she was found, they also found her daughter by her side, who was unharmed, actually. So the story's still developing at this hour, but the suspect is ready to face a judge on the murder charge, aggravated rape, and the armed burglary charge.
You know, Steve, that point you bring up about that little girl, her daughter being at her side when her body was found, just a 2-year-old little girl, for some reason that is something that I have not been able to get out of my mind since hearing about this story. Let's talk about Christopher McCowen. What do we know about him other than he was a bit of a drifter, and what was it, a trash hauler?
Yeah, he worked for a local trash company. We also know that he has a long criminal record that includes several restraining orders against women in the area. And so this is some of the information that's coming up. We also know that his DNA was actually linked to the murder of Christa Worthington. And we're also hearing, and you may recall this, that back in January, it was actually then that investigators were voluntarily asking men in the town to offer their DNA. A number of men did, some didn't, but those who refused actually came under extra scrutiny by the prosecutors and investigators who were following up this case. But we've been hearing today that the DNA taken in the suspect in this particular case, that happened 3 months after the murder, but it was only this week that they were actually able to link him to this particular murder.
Now, can you describe for me the area for people who are not familiar? I understand this Barnstable area, it's got a small, 2,000 population. Is that year-round?
Yeah, 1,800. It's a small, quiet community. If you're familiar with the arm of the Cape, this is on the outer end of Cape Cod. If you're familiar with Provincetown, this is the community just before Provincetown. It's a small community. Most of the homes are very secluded. A lot of them are on dirt roads. We actually talked to the victim's cousin, Jan Worthington, this morning. We went to her house this morning, 7 o'clock this morning, sat down with her. She talked about how, first of all, how surprised she was that this was the person that was arrested, because for the past several months, there was a lot of finger-pointing going on in the community. People that were her ex-boyfriends, other people in town, that people were pointing the finger at who may have done this whole thing, and to find out that it was the suspect is the person who was actually picking up her trash, just sent shockwaves across this otherwise quiet community, where, as you mentioned, in the wintertime and off-season, there's not a lot of people down here on Cape Cod. You know, in the summer here at Cape Cod, this place is bustling with tourists, but off-season, there's not a lot of people around here.
Yeah, and it's important to note, and you certainly didn't go there, Steve, that those people that had their fingers pointed at them, former boyfriends and the like, including the father of her 2-year-old child at the time of the killing, who's now 5 years old, they were never considered suspects. So important to note right there. WHDH's Steve Cooper, thank you very much for helping us through this developing story. We appreciate it.